Hey, it's Thursday. Hey, are you getting snow like we are? Hey, it is snowing here, and I'm so glad I'm inside here, and we are going to have some fun tonight. Actually, because I already did this painting, I did have class today, which we were about to cancel because of the snow drifts and how cold it is here. But actually, it's not that much snow, it's just actually cold here in northern Illinois. But so we had two people, and good thing we only had two people because I screwed this one up really big time. So here you can see. I actually did over it about at least 5 times until I got it to where I really liked it. So as you can see, we're going to try to do something like this, but better. And so let me just I'll explain what we have to do better than what I did this afternoon. And so welcome, guys. Welcome. Anybody new here? Welcome also. And so let's just go right away to our website. And for any of you newcomers, here's where you go to BeckerArt.net to find out. And I am redesigning it, and it's going to probably take until the new year until I get it to where I have it really comfortable with what I like. But if you go to davidrbecker.com or BeckerArt.net, you'll find everything I'm doing, where I'm at, what we're painting every week, and you can get my newsletter there, and everything's on there. Supplies is my watercolor, my Holbein watercolors. We got my brushes that are also Holbein with my names on them. And then we got the masking fluid, transfer paper, which we're not using tonight, but we are using my Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press tonight. We're not using black. This would probably actually be a good one to do on black, but we're not going to do it on black paper. So let's start out with the value study. And so one of the things I didn't do really well this afternoon was follow the value study, and I actually didn't kind of do this part that you're seeing here on the right before. I did this after the class, and when I brought it back home, I was working on it a little bit. So about an hour before this came on, I was working on it, on my painting. And I really, the pattern here, as you can see, look at the pattern. Here you can see that we have the darks, and I made it just two patterns. I always make it two values, and so just to make it light and dark, black and white, I wanted that to show my value pattern. And so what you're going to see here is, this is more of the value pattern. See where the lights are? The lights are behind, and actually what I did is I made her all light against the dark background. Right? That's what I did. And so I kind of didn't follow my value study the way I was supposed to. And so tonight I'm going to do more like the value pattern, which is dark. She is in the, actually her body and her limbs and her face and her thing are dark. The only thing that's kind of her tutu here, her dress, is the only thing that is light with the back of her legs and also the edges. So I did it totally, well, not totally wrong, but very close to doing it not the way I should have done. I was just thinking the whole body, and for some reason I was just thinking the whole body is light and the whole background is dark, and it didn't work. And so I actually I put like I said, I did about 3 washes, and then I went to the 4th wash, and then the 5th wash I finally just did with opaques and stuff, just to kind of figure out what was I doing wrong. And then when I came back and looked at this, I really realized then that look at where the darks are. We got darks on the left side where her hand is light, but then her arm gets to dark in juxtaposition. And I also want to give her movement, and which something doesn't have here. She's just standing there posing, and I wanted to give her like she was actually dancing. And so that's what we're going to try to do. I tried to do that this afternoon, and it just was a fail, but you learn a lot. And then, so here, let's just go to our tabletop, and I'll show you what I did. So, as you can see here, what happened was I had done, her in the light. Look at, I did this in the light, her legs in the light, and remember, I look right over here. If you look right here, look at what's in the light. The background here is lighter than she is, and so I made her top lighter, and I made her arms lighter than the background, and I made her, so that was wrong, because isn't what I tell you is follow your value study. And so I wasn't following my value study, and so yes, and I put these first. I put a stencil back here, took that out. Then I did something else and took that out, and then I finally put in I took white paint because I want to give it movement too. That's the reason for the stencil. I want to give it movement. And so we're going to try to do this movement with not so hard an edge and not with opaques. We're going to try to get this beautiful lights, which is supposed to be light anyways. So if I can get a light through here, that's going to be soft, and then bring it around down here. And also now the tutu is going to be white, like it is there, light. And so I'll keep that, but I'll keep this part over here dark, and then I'll maybe put a little bit of light going through here. Because as you can see in this value study right here, and again, I can switch this off and on here. But you can see how that is dark in this corner. If you look right here in this corner, this is pretty dark, and this is all dark in the edge. And the only thing that's lit up is the back of her legs. And so I'm going to try to do a little bit more of that, this look, than this look, than what I have, what I had. So you can see I don't have the lighting. See, I mean, I don't have the lighting on her. She's like in the bright light, and so it didn't work. And we all do that. We all make mistakes. We all, you know, we think we have the idea down in our heads, and we always go with it, what we think is right. And then, you know, I thought I was smart enough to know, oh yeah, just do this and this and this. I'll put this work. Well, it didn't, because it didn't follow the value study. So remember, follow your value study. And so let's put that aside here for now, and let's get that going. And so our beer today is a Leinenkugels. I bought a pack of 4 different types. So this one happens to be a sunset wheat with natural blueberry and citrus flavors. Leinenkugel. It's the North Woods, I think, collection. They have 4 of them. And so this week we're going to try this one. And so, with it being cold outside, we should have hot chocolate or something, something warm, because it is super, super cold out there. And we actually left class early too, so we were rushing through the painting. So, and not making any excuses. It was my fault. I didn't do it right. And we'll let the sun go down on that one until I rate it. And let's see who's all here today. But we got everybody from everywhere, huh? All the way from Wisconsin, where I go. I know you guys in Minnesota. Everywhere it's snowy, right? Yes, it's snowy here too. But it's not. We didn't get that much snow. It's more cold and blistery winds is what's happening here. We don't have like a lot of snow yet, though the roads were messy coming back from the class. But well, thanks everybody for stopping by. And this is so close to Christmas. I hope you got all your shopping done and everything. I hope you tell everybody what you want. So cheers, everybody. Here's to a nice Christmas this coming Saturday and Sunday. Very sudsy. A very good wheat beer. I'm going to give that a 9. Very good. All right, let's get going. So, wow, that is very good. Not bad. Not bad for Leinenkugels. All righty. So, I got to rethink this. So, because the first thing I did this afternoon was go right through her, because I said she was the light, and I didn't realize that she was not the light. The background's really the light, and her tutu's the light. So let's get the colors for that, and like even something like this, I'm going to put the figure and the background together as one, and just do it that way instead of separating the background from the ballerina. So I get my lights, and I'm going to use the same kind of colors I used this afternoon. I wanted to use like pinks and purples, and kind of in that field of the Nutcracker. We looked at the Nutcracker, and it was really dark blues, dark purples, dark pinks. And so, and so we're going to try to do a little bit of that. And so I'm going to work the background. I'm going to work the background this time, basically, instead of the foreground. And then let me put the other image on there, because I really need to have that there instead. See, I got to look at this image on the side here, right there. This image right there. That one I want to see, because that's what I want. I want to keep those values, because that's what shows me the light. That's what's going to show me how light it is. And so when I do the background right here, I'm going to do wet into wet. I'm just going to wet through everything. Not going to worry about her, because again, the darks will indicate the details. Darks always indicate the details. So I'm just going to wet the whole surface, which I didn't do. Like I said, this afternoon I did her body first, because I thought she was in the light and it's like the thing. But as you can see, that's not the case. I didn't get the right lighting. And follow your values. Hey, Betsy from Indiana, Maura, Liz. Is it snowing in Indiana? It's snowing in Illinois. I know for certain probably Wisconsin and Minnesota. All right, and so here we're wetting everything. I wet everything first, and now we're going to try to get this light through here. And I'm going to take it. Let's see. Let's go with some pinks, maybe some violets. I'm just going to try to get that look of swoosh, like she's moving. I want the movement in this time. And maybe a little bit of orangey pink. I kind of like orange and pink together. It makes it kind of a salmon-y color. And so I have pink here, and I also have a jaune number 4, which is kind of a flesh tone. And so I'm going to kind of bring that through here. And so different from how I was doing this afternoon. I just don't know what I was thinking. You know, it's like, you know, you think you know what you're doing sometimes. And I'm going to go right to her face because this is actually kind of a good color to put on the light part of her face. And there's not going to be no, if I want whites, I can put them in with masking fluid, or I can put a little bit in on the front of her face later on. I'll just do that with, here, I'll take a little bit of that out right there. And this is baked to the light, so I don't want to get too dark there. And so I'm going to keep it light and just get that swooshiness, whooshiness here. Get some flesh tones in there. Now the flesh tones are going to be darker because, why? Because they're in shadow. In shadow this time. And maybe this time I'll understand that. And look at this, nice washes too. And I know there's curtain there, and it's a curtain, and to me that doesn't show movement. I want movement. I want movement in this one. You can do it like that. I'm not saying that you can't do it that way. That's okay. I just felt like I'm doing a ballerina, and I want her to move. I don't want her just like she's posing. I want to make her look like she's really, really moving. I don't want to go into her dress or her tutu here because I want that to kind of stay white. And the back of her legs are light too, so I'm going to keep that a little bit. And look at these nice colors. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I do have a new camera. I think it should be a little bit more clear. Let me know what you think. I had still working with it a little bit, trying to get the colors. I also have a new lighting set coming, hopefully in a little bit. And I'm going to get some better lighting in here because I am not lighting all this right exactly the way it should be. I make it really very professional so that we really show. And so when I may in the new year do a class where you're going to be with me for 66 days, where every day I'm going to see how many of you want to do this. It's going to be a drawing class, and it's going to be for 66 days, and you have to do something every day. Every day you're going to have to promise me that you do these exercises, and it's to better your drawing skills. And just wait for me to figure this out. It is a book. I'm putting a book together, but it's taking me so long. I think I want to test it out first and see if it really works, my little method of having you guys learn how to draw from your imagination. And so it's going to take 66 days to do that, so 2 months basically. It's going to take a little bit over 2 months, and you'll have to draw something every day. Every day you'll have to have a sketchbook. And it's drawing, not painting. It's just going to be a simple sketch. And so we're going to try to do that, but I'll let you know. Just follow my website, and when I get that going, I'll let you know. It's going to be a little test, and it is going to probably have to cost a little bit of something because I'm going to have to put it on the internet also, and I may have to do a special thing for it. I got to still figure it out, but look for that in the near future. And I figured all this stuff out in the shower. I'm pretty good in the shower figuring stuff I want to do out. The camera is awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, so there's my lights. Basically, that's my lights. All my lights are done, right? I mean, look at this. The lights are here. If you look at this thing right here, look at where my lights are. The lights are done. Let's go right in. While it's wet, I'm going to go right in my darks because I want to do my background darks right away. So I'm going to go in there with a violet. I want to do it with a really dark violet, a black, maybe a blue, maybe a little bit of red. So now I want to go in here and get a really nice dark right away. And that's pretty blue, not much violet in there, so I'm going to go in here and dip into a little bit more other colors and just bring this down. And this is where I'm saying that it would be pretty neat to do this on black paper because then you get a really dark and you're just getting your lights in there because this is a pretty dark picture when you look at it. So I'm going through here. Now I want to I should have maybe, I'm going to have to go around the hands, so this is going to be kind of tough. I may have to rub this out a little bit. I got to go around the tutu. But all year, you've been doing really great with controlling your pigment. It's just knowing how much pigment to use and how much to not use. Again, let me spray this a little up. This is getting dry, so I'm using my spray bottle, misting it up in the air, going like this, upside down, and just letting it fall on the surface and not spraying it. You people that spray it, you're going to get big marks on there. And so, like it's raining, make it so it goes up, like this. Now I did it wrong because now it's going to little clumps because I had little clumps coming out of there. And I also sprayed my screen. So my screen is all there. So if you ask a question. All right, so. Let's put a little orange in there So see, I'm getting a little bit, it was starting to get dry there, but it's, I even got some dots down here, but that's okay. It looks like stars in the sky, so that's okay. This is a bit more violet. This is a little bit too much for me here. So a little bit of violet over my orange. Writing into her, and again, I mean, too many of you feel, and even this afternoon, I felt too much like I was doing pieces and not doing the whole thing, though, because I was thinking that she was in the light. So I was really worried too much about, a little bit too worried about making little pieces of her, like her arm and then the other arm, when I wasn't thinking the whole object and everything together. Because it's more important that you make the whole light and dark. Like, if you can make it look like this, the end of my handle, this little image right there, I want to make it look like that. I want that lighting. I want that look. And to get that, I need soft edges, and I have to be able to paint through stuff. And see, now I'm getting all my soft edges, and then the hard edges will really, really speak to you. They'll really poke up and out when you get some hard edges in there. The soft edges, again, you do all wet into wet, and you get that all in there. That's a little bit too much purple. And don't be afraid of your grays. I mean, many of you think that this is like, it would be too much mud. Everybody calls it mud. It's not mud. It's just a gray. I go right into her legs. Don't worry about her legs. Her legs are going to be light on the side. And I can even put white paint there if I feel like. And so this is light, and then down here it's going to be dark. Now I have a little S through here. I don't know if you saw that. I drew in a little S to get that look of like, it's going to be, oh, I got to hurry up and get this dark again. I'm making like a movement of S, like she's doing a little, I'm not sure what they call it, pirouette? Is that what they call it? That she's dancing and she's doing this little twist. And so I figure I'm going to make this a little bit darker than down here. Know your subject matter. I mean, if you want to do dancers and stuff, go out there and learn how to dance and really learn your subject matter. It always helps when it comes to learning your subject matter when it comes to painting in. I always tell my students, always learn your subject matter. Learn about it, love it, and paint stuff that you know and love. And it helps it so much when you love what you're painting. And then you know, also knowing about it, knowing exactly, you know, what this is that she's doing, what kind of dance this is. You know, I mean, that kind of thing really does help it. So this is light, and see this is light here, so I'm going to go down here now and get it dark. Many of you get worried that I'm covering up her, you know, but she's dark, and all the lights I put there over her face and stuff, and that's the part that is it has a little bit of flesh tone in it, but if I didn't get enough of it, I can still put more in there later too. And I'm going to wet this a little bit down here. And I'm going to make this really dark down there, too, just like this area right up here. So I'm going in all my darks. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's your darks up there? Well, there's a blue, a black, and a purple. And I just mix them all together, and then I go over here to the red, make them a little warmer. And then I just throw them down in there. If I wanted more red and violet, then I put more red and violet into it. But I still will add the black, and I will still add the blue. You know, I just like to have a lot of pigment in there when you're getting the dark, dark colors. See if I can. The side of her feet are. See, I want that movement, and so I can't almost get that if I'm going to keep this dark, because it's more, like I said, it's more important to get the value than it is to get the movement. I can do the movement later too. It's more important to get that value pattern. I can't tell you how important that is. I can't tell you that enough. It's very important. Maybe I can do this. I can just kind of go in there while it's dark, and then maybe do this thing. So get it dark first. Like this side here, it's kind of dark. Now it's going to bleed in my legs a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just deal with that later. And then this side of the legs also is dark. And this is all going to be soft edge, because remember, it's all wet, and so it's all getting beautifully soft edges, beautiful soft edges in it. So that's what I really want. I really want to get the soft edges. I can always go darker. This is going to dry 20% lighter too, so don't worry about that so much. It'll get, much lighter than it looks. And that's sometimes a problem too, because you really wanted to get the value one shot is what you really kind of want to do. Maybe bring this down here. Bring this together. And look at how already she's standing out. Isn't that kind of cool that it's standing out? And then her body will be dark and her arm will be dark, and it's all be out juxtaposition. So this time I got it, I think. I think I'll have gotten it this time. You know, we all can't get them every time. It's like, don't feel bad if you don't get something sometimes, or it just didn't work out that time. Try it again. Figure out what your problems were. That's what we did in class. I just was looking at it, and I took the stuff out, and I used that painting then as a example. You know, and I'm gonna maybe go over it, or I can, you know, this is one that it didn't work out so great. I mean, if you look really close, and you can't look really close because I have to focus it up on there, but what I did here, you can tell there's a lot of wiping out, and it's a lot of, I mean, I can go back in and I made these areas look clean and fresh by adding a lot of paint or water over it again and scumbling it a little bit and then applying paint into that wash. But still, I didn't get the values on this. I did not get the value pattern correctly at all. And I could go back in and I can probably help it, but I'd rather just use this and use it as my example of trying to work it out. It's almost a sketch. And now I've got this, which already is 10 times better. 1,000 times better. And look at all these beautiful colors in here too. Just put some nice beautiful, I'm going to put this, let's see, I'm going to put this little dark going through here, like she's coming around there. And this goes this way. I won't touch that part now because that part is drying. I need to have it dry sooner or later, otherwise I'm in trouble. Any questions? Hey everybody, boy, we got a lot of people on tonight. I thought nobody'd be on because of the snowstorm and because it's getting close to Christmas. Don't you guys have something better to do than watch me? So cheers, everybody! Cheers. I'm just gonna slow down here a second. I need it to dry because we're gonna go into the figure now because my background hopefully will be done now, and now I have a real nice look to it. That's pretty good. I'm gonna give that like a, what did I say? A 9. That should probably be a 10. That's pretty good. A little bit watered down, but it is a Leinenkugel, so it's not like the most expensive beer. Let me just put this, I'm going to take a little bit out here. I'm just going to take this, watch this. A little bit of a wisp. I'm just going to take it out. This is the one thing I love about the Stonehenge paper, is you can do stuff like that. I mean, you saw that was really nice and wet. I can just take my brush, dry it on my cloth towel, and then I just pull out the paint. And it works perfect for that. And I've seen some of the artists like Mary White who just when it comes to like soft edges in the background, boy, she is a master. And so if you really want to watch or see some beautiful work, just check out Mary White's, and you'll some really beautiful work how she does that and makes her soft edges so soft. And that's how you do it. You do it while it's wet. You have to. You can't do slowly and do a little bit and do little parts and make it that really fresh looking area of it. And if you don't want to do it this way to give you that movement, just do it like you see here. Do it like you see in this image right there. Do the curtains. That's fine, but make it soft edge. Don't make it so hard edge back there. I'd rather you see, it's harder to do it that way, but you'll learn. You'll learn how to do wet into wet, paint through. Because now, half my painting is done. I mean, my background's done. I'm not going to do any much more back there. I may give it a floor or something, but I found the values this time. See, light right here. Light through the middle, so that the figure will pop out as dark. This is like a middle tone, and so that's going to be there. This down here is a dark. Now I did add a little bit of this white thing, but that won't matter that much. It's just a small thing happening there. Tina, you got cringed when I went over her leg? Yeah, no, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. You're gonna go over there. I'm gonna get this light back by rubbing out a little bit like I did here. I will rub that out and clean. I'll clean that up. But if I make this all light again, I mean, look at this. This does not give you the lighting. This is not the lighting that you see there, right? And look at this lighting right here. This is not this. There's no, I mean, maybe the dress is the only thing, but she has a little bit of dark through here, but her arm should be really dark and the background should be light. And so, and her legs, you only see the back of the legs by it being light. Now, yes, in this image right here, hold on one second. If you look at this image, this one, yes, you can see the front of the legs. And if it was colored, that's another thing. If it was colored and let's see, she has the curtain here is maybe one color and maybe her tutu is another and her top is another. then that would be different. But working on black and white, so I'm going to go through there, and I'm going to go through the color, and it actually works better that way because then it's like you're going to give all my interest to the center of interest, which is the dancer. You have to make a painting work together on a whole. You just can't do pieces, otherwise it'll just look like a photograph and it won't look like a painting. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes people like that. I try to teach you beyond that. I try to teach you to go beyond that and put some of yourself into it. Put some of your, your ability and what you feel that the painting should be. Like, I want to make this person look like she's a dancer, dancing, not standing stiff, like a robot. And so that's one way of doing it. And I think it's dry now. It's hard to tell with your gloves on. That's the only bad thing about wearing more clothes and gloves on. But I love wearing gloves. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We'll find out too as soon as I apply. Now the side of her hand is lighter. So what I'm going to do is like last week when we did the red against the bright flowers. Is that what we did last week? The flowers? So the flowers were really bright red. Instead of being light, they were bright red. And so that's another way of showing something come forward. So with her hand, what I can do is I can make it like a flesh tone that's bright, like orange and pink, orange and red, orange or pink, whatever. And just go in there and just start there with the hand. And if I want, I'm just going to use what I already have down. This color I already have down for the background is going to be the color of her hand now. And that would sometimes be enough. But look at how dark her hand is, and look at how dark. Let me get back look at how dark her head is and her hand, and in this picture. Now, if you go back to this, that's still dark, and I want to get that little rim lighting on there. So I'm going to make that a little bit darker, and so I'm going to use a burnt orange, or they call it light red, but it's kind of like a burnt orange, a burnt sienna type color. And make it pretty dark here, her arm, because again, she is now in the dark. She's not a light. She's not light in the subject matter. She is a dark. She is a dark. No, she is dark. She's lit up and she's in shadow. Okay, so I'm just gonna go right in there with the same color for her hair, and I'll make her hair darker, but I'm using this as flesh tone. And I'm going to go across her face and just shadow her face right away. If I want to make soft edges, I can do them later. It's too hard to do this all at once. Like, I don't want to wet her face. I want that hard edge more than I want the soft edges. I can always go in like this and soften them after I apply it, the big wash. See, I'm going over this whole wash. And now I'm doing wet in the wet, right? Remember how I do wet in the wet? I apply enough pigment so it just bleeds a little bit. And so the more pigment, it'll stop it. And so how do I separate her hair now from there? I wait a little bit, or get rid of some of the water here. Suck up a little bit of the water. Use a lot of pigment. Use thick pigment of brown and purple. Make it really dark here, and take the water out of your brush by just tapping on your paper towel or your towel. I use a towel. I go to Goodwill, buy towels by the dozens, and they're usually about $1.99. And I can just put them on there. And I have been bleaching them, but you can't get everything out. But it's a great way of painting. I don't like having things in my hand. I like my hands free, so I can just go here and I'm just going in here with thick amount of pigment. Look at how thick this is, how I separate it. That's wet, but look at how I'm separating it with a lot of pigment. Remember, a lot of pigment lets you make a line when it's wet even when it's wet, and it won't run. And here's a hard edge because it's against drying paper. And I can still go in here later on and give me hard edges too. I can get hard edges later on. If I want to maybe make a little bit dark here, I'm going to take a little bit of dark and put it right on her hand here. Again, controlling it. Control, control, control. Enough pigment lets you control it. Learn how to control your pigment. Even in a wet wash. It doesn't matter how wet it is. You have to know how wet it is, and then you apply the paint to that quantity of water. You can, I don't care how wet it is, you can make it so that you can make a line with this. And now her cheek should be a little bit rosier. So I'm going to make her cheek a little rosier, so I'll put a little bit of opera in there, giving her makeup, and the lady should be better at this than I am. I don't put much makeup on, so I'm just going to put her some little rosy cheeks. Put a little dark underneath her. No, I'm not going to do the detail yet. Just do the edge, the big areas. And then I look at the picture and I see that underneath her chin is a little darker. And so I get some reds and some warm flesh tones and just kind of put that underneath her chin, back of her neck maybe. I can go, like I said, I can go back in there again later and not put too much water and see what it does when you put too much water in there. If there's already water there, just put pure pigment down. Don't go and start putting more water in there. You don't need more water. Water's already there. You need pigment, solid pigment by itself. And that's how come I always see all this dirt up here. That's because I'm getting rid of the water, but I'm leaving the pigment, a little bit of pigment on my brush. See how I just put a little bit of pigment on my brush? I don't put water on there. I go like this and I pick up pure pigment. And hopefully you have good pigment on your palette. You know, you need fresh or Holbein. Holbein doesn't need to be fresh because it's always fresh. It's always rejuvenates instantly. So there's her head and her arm, and let's just keep on going down. And now let's do her other arm right away, since I'm on this color. So I might as well do this arm. Let's go right in there, right from there. And look at the edge is a little brighter, and so I'm going to make that a little bit brighter. And so I can do like I'm doing the whole scene, as I'm doing the arm as a whole scene. See, I'm going in there, wetting it. It doesn't matter what color you wet it with, just wet it. And then I will go back in and get the darks where the darks need to be. Going right after the edge. Now this hand now is lighter than the background, so I may have to rub out or just put a nice light color there, and I'm going to rub the dark into this light. Now that's all wet. The arm is all wet, right? And so now let's go in there and shape it. Hey Dave, hey Maria, Dave and Evelyn. Evelyn, I'm wearing the gloves only because I love wearing gloves. It protects my hand, and so that way you don't see my hand. You can just see a nice big dark holding the brush. And so now let's go in here. I'm just going to go in here, get the darks, and again, look at this picture right here. Right there, see the picture? The black and white, look at where my dark is. And so this arm has to be dark. I don't care what color you make it either. I mean, I'm going to try to make it more more flesh-like, but it really is not as important as it is to make sure that you get the right values. I can't stress that enough. Values, as you saw, I mean, I saw this afternoon my painting, and you see what happens if you don't do the right values. You don't get the right lighting. You need to get the values to where they're supposed to be. You can have the color help you out after you put it in there, that's fine. But I want to see you start doing the values more importantly. They're more important than the color. Yes, color is important too. But more important is that you get it right with the values. So I can put any color I want in here, and if I get the values right, it'll still look okay. Now her top and the back is just as light as the background, but I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. And I probably should make it a different color too. Well, let's just keep it in the violets and the reds. And I'll put it has sparkles on it, and so it has like a little glitter or something like that on it, you know, like little shiny things. So you can see a little bit of her belly showing, and so we'll put that in there first because we got the same color still on my palette. Now her legs are going to be totally different because they have like tights on, so she has like little white pink tights on. And so let's make her top pinkish, a little bit more pinkish. And so let's go with like a pink, and do the light parts first because I already did the light parts right by doing a wash over that. And so I'm going in here with a little bit of pink, and here that's pretty light pink though. On the front here, it's light. It's darker than the background, but light is part of the dark. I'm using Opera together with a little bit of this orange I have here, so it's kind of making a like a pinkish color. Underneath the arm here, it looks like it gets really dark. Let me use a little alizarin there. I'll use a little bit more alizarin to the bottom part here. And right, questions, guys? Dave just got a sample pack of Holbein. Congratulations. You'll have those paints forever, and you'll get every last drop. They do not dry out. It's a wonderful thing about Holbein. They do not dry out, so you never waste one single drop of Holbein pigment, because they're always will be usable. That's the reason I started. That's the reason I switched. I used all the other brands myself, but when it came to not painting all the time, and then having coming back and having rock hard paint, and then you kind of waste it, it made me start using Holbein, and I couldn't believe it when I first met Holbein and I found out about that. It's awesome. I have noticed that all the prices of all the paints have gone way, way up. I'm like, whoa, these smokes. So that's one thing. So now look at the nice and darks I got through here. Now it's darker than the background. I'm getting a little bit more of that fade in there. So that's much, much better. I feel much better now. And again, if you don't do it wrong the first time, a lot of times you don't learn. If you did it right and you're just doing it and you're just copying the picture, sometimes it's good to do mistakes because you really learn a lot from your mistakes. Because you analyze it and you figure out what you did wrong, and then you learn. If you just did this and copied it and did it right, then you don't learn as much as if you do some mistakes. So if you do a lot of mistakes, consider yourself really lucky. It's okay. It's okay. You're learning a lot. Let's see, any more questions? Do you have a color photo of this reference? No, I do not have a color photo. Nope, don't have a color photo reference of this particular photo. It came black and white because I've been watching. If you read my newsletter, you heard that I've been watching black and white movies, and so I went online also, looked for ballerinas, and I was looking for old pictures, and so I only found this black and white one. It was only black and white. So, and though being the way it is, the way it looks, it wouldn't be that much different from this anyways, because she'd probably just have white and pink, and the background would be pretty black anyways, because I think most of this was black and white, and the material or whatever they were using was pretty much that color. It was pretty much black and white. Even though I'm using red, look at how many different colors are in this. There's purples and pinks and reds. It's not just one color going in there. And then by having these other colors sitting in there, and the top of her tutu, I'm also making that a color. Now her tutu, I keep on dropping all this stuff. Hold on. What time do we have here? Boy, I gotta get done. Oh, no. Seems like you've been talking forever here. And now, let's do her tutu real quick. I'm gonna do some nice violet colors from the background. There's a little line here, and I can start at first with a little bit of water so I can get some soft edges in there, and then I can do some hard edges while I'm doing the soft edges. So a little bit of both, and that's a little bit strong. That's okay. I'm gonna put a little pink in there. A little pink one hurt it. It would reflect in there because she's got pink on, so it would reflect into the dress here a little bit, into the tutu. And here it should be lighter, so I'm going to rub out. So how do you rub out? Get yourself a scrubbing brush, or make a scrubbing brush from bristle brush. I don't have one with me right at the moment, but a bristle brush works even better than this. But this paper works really well. This this Stonehenge Aqua, and look at how easy it is to rub out. I'm rubbing out this light again, just to make that edge of the tutu nice and harsh. Same thing over here. If I lost a little bit of the edges, I can just rub it. Take some clean water, scrub it a little bit, blot it with a piece of paper towel, and then go back to getting your beautiful colors. A little lilac and lavender. I like to always have a little bit of soft edges in this too, because again, if she's moving, all these beautiful soft edges look great. Not everything has to be hard edged, like it's in focus, and that's the problem with all this HD, and our cameras are so defined and make such high definition. Now they got 4K. That's what this camera is actually that I'm using now for my thing, is a 4K. So everything becomes super, super, super detailed. But sometimes you don't want to draw all that detail so that you can get more mood into your picture and let some things fade away and not lose those edges, which is what I'm doing. Some of these edges are lost to the background, which is fine, because if she's in motion, it'll be out of focus, right? And that's how I want to do a little bit more paintings that are out of focus. As a beginner, maybe that's a little bit too soon to do that, because it's a little bit, first you have to learn how to, you know, get your soft edges and wet into wet. So practice that first. You know, practice on getting your soft edges, and that just takes time. You have to learn that by putting enough paint in, and also it makes you realize if you do have enough paint in your palette. For one, if you don't have enough paint in your palette, fresh paint, then you're not going to be able to do it, because it's all about how much pigment you have in your brush to make that soft edged. Now her legs are almost combined with the background, but what I'm going to do is I'll make her leg a little bit darker than the background, so just stand out a little bit using my small brush here, and I will make this like a nice dark edge here, and I'll fill in all the way down, and then I will kind of keep the part that is light, which is the whole back of her leg here. I'll keep that light. Now look at how ugly a color this is. That's a gray that I just picked up in here, and you'd be like, oh my god, it's so muddy. But it's just wetness right now. So what you want to do is just put some color in there. So let's see what colors. We'll put a little violet in there, lavender. Just float that in there. You just float it. And is it important to make sure that you get the background? You know, I mean, the background here is lost. I could do parts of it. I could make the background again. If I want, I can re-wet this area, but I like it so much how clean it is. I like things being clean, so I'll probably keep it the way it is. And then since I'm using a lot of pink down there, her hose could be a little bit more, her tights could be a little bit more pink. Let's put a little pink in there. Let's put some pink in that dark. Let it float. Do a little dark on the edge of this tutu. And now her, I am going to I'm going to get rid of the dark on her shoes, on her slippers, her ballet slippers. I'm going to make them lighter down here. And see, I'm picking out, and one of my students, Beth, today told me that Sarah Yeoman just showed her how to make a scrubbing brush by taking a small, like you take a acrylic brush like this. You can take an acrylic brush and then just chop off like a flat one, and then just chop it off really thin so you have a little bit on the end, and just cut it, and then you can it's a little bit more stiff, and so you can use that as a scrubbing brush. But look at how I'm scrubbing out with just this regular brush. This is a soft bristle brush, but this paper is so easily, I can take it off really easily by just rubbing a little bit with a little bit of water, and I can just press, and boom, I've got her feet back. And that's what I was saying about, you know, don't be worried about going through that big thing before. Remember how I know Tina was really I love your background. I saw her as waiting off stage for her moment to go on. You can do that too, but will she be posing like that, or she's waiting and she's doing some moves? I wanted to make her look like she's actually dancing. And Sue, you do these great swirls. You should be doing this. Should be your project. Your Sue Swirls here. Sue Jacobson, I call her Sue Swirls because she does some amazing, when it comes to doing some amazing washes, and she gets these swirls in them that would work perfect for this. So show me some Sue Swirls. And there's her back leg, and I got the nice dark through here. And I will clean up that edge there too. And so what I can do is I can just go like this, take my brush, and I'm going to rub out a little bit and get that edge back. See how that's how fine I can make that edge come back. There's the edge, nice and stiff, nice and I got rid of all the little bumps that were on there. And look at how nice colors in there now. I had to just let that float. Again, always put down your water and let your pigment float into the water. Float your pigment. That's what we call it, right? Float your pigment. Now her slippers should be as like her top, right? And I'm actually going to give her pink little stars or something on her by just putting little dots here. Little dots all around like it's sparkled. Like her top could be sparkled. Glitter, not glitter. What do they call that? A little shiny. There we go. And now I should give her shoes probably should be the same color. Or slippers, not shoes. I'll make them nice and pink. Let's get this a little bit darker. That's almost a little bit too pinkish now. That's kind of gaudy pink. So I'm going to tone that down a little bit. You don't want to make it garish, and that's one of my teacher, Irving Shapiro, always said, don't make your painting saccharine. Don't make it look like candy. Unless it's a subject matter that maybe needs that. But he said, don't make your picture saccharine. So now I'm going to get the side of her nose. I'm doing all detail. It's just detail I'm doing now. Just going in there and grabbing colors and doing fine detail. That's my last step, is detail. And so I'm just putting colors and coloring things, making things tight, making things look like what they are. Doing little edges, and I can even put a little pink on her hand here just to make it look like it's, not sure why I made it totally pink. Like I want to give it a little more flesh tone. That's another thing you can do too. If you feel that you want to put that pink somewhere else besides like in here, then that's good to do it somewhere else so that it stands out, not just there. And the side of her nose looks like it's in shadows, so I got to do the side of her nose a little bit. Using my fine number 8 brush, but it gets such a fine tip. I can even put a little bit on her underlip, make it a little dark. I can give her a little lipstick on the bottom here, just a little bit of pink right there. And then I'm gonna have to do a dark for her earring here, but then what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of white, because I am gonna add a little white. So I make it dark first. There's a little bit here. I have a little something there with the white, and look at her tutu's a little bit too light there. I still want to make a little dark coming through there. This is still. The detail takes the longest because you're doing details, and so don't be thinking that you have to go fast through your details. Spend your good amount of time making sure you get it really tight in the spirit where it needs to be tight. And now I'm going to go in with some really darks, some super darks, like right on her hair here, to kind of identify shapes a little bit more. There is time for details, and there's time to make things really detailed and tight, and also hard-edged. There's time for that. Not in the beginning. It's left for now. This is the time to do it at the end here, when you're doing all the little things that make your center of interest pop out. And so I'll put my darkest dark, my lightest lights in there. And this is where you can make it look like a photograph if you need to. If you want to make it really tight, you still need all the other stuff you did beforehand to work out. Now you go in and do all your details. And this is where it counts. Bring this down here. And now a little bit more in her dress here. It's going to be a little bit darker. I gotta get that lighting. I'm always into about the lighting. The lighting has to be right. Otherwise it's not, the lighting is everything. You have to make it look like the lights are on and make it look like she's shining from the back. Like this is really shiny here, and I'm probably gonna have to go back in the background, make things darker to pop her out a little bit more. And I can do that. I will show you how to do that. It's nothing you really want to do. I should have got the first wash, but there's times when it doesn't happen, like now. It didn't happen my first wash, and so I'm gonna have to go in there. And then first I'm gonna do is white. I'm gonna take pure white, and I'm gonna rub it out with my paper towel here. How much more time do I have? About 10 minutes. Sequins, yes, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks. Tina, you're still cringing, right? Yeah, I know. But look at how the leg looks now. It doesn't look nice? I went in there and got it nice and soft and smooth and smooth out the edges. All right, let's go back in. Let's go back into the background, because I pretty much did this for the whole foreground, and she has pretty much all the colors she needs and all the values that she needs. So right here's a little bit too light, a little light right there. And so let's pop her out. Let's pop her out a little bit more. and give her a little bit more movement and emotion. And this is the scary part, because this would be like what I did when I did the stencils. I put the stencils in now as the time. And like I said, when you put stencils, sometimes you can ruin it. And actually, a good stencil would be not bad to blow it in with an airbrush. Like I could take my airbrush here and blow in. Actually, I want to show you how to use this airbrush. So what I'll do is I'll put a really dark color in here, and I'll show you. I'm going to put these little darks in there. Yeah, it's a good thing to do. Here, let me just show you how to use an airbrush. This is that portable airbrush I use, and so I'm going to take purple and black here, make it really dark, and just set it inside here. This is all charged up. It doesn't come with anything. You don't have to have a hose or anything like that. It's all in one setup. And so I'm taking purple and black. I have to put a lot of it. See, I'm mixing up a bunch of really juicy black. You could do this with acrylic too, or if I even had a stencil, I could shoot it through there. And so on this one, I'm going to have to turn it up a little bit here because I can't go downwards. You can hear it, see? I don't know if you can see a little bit darkness coming through there. So I'm making it a little bit darker. You can hear it. This is one way if you ever make a mistake and you're thinking like, oh shoot, I didn't get it where I wanted it. You know, then you, make it a little darker here. It's such a fine mist that you can, there's something you couldn't get with the brush like this unless you do the first wash. And so, though I should be putting some white in there, but I'm not sure if I should have used this, but oh well. Let me show you. Okay, that's the airbrush, and so to clean it out, I just dip it into the water, and I sprayed a little bit in the water. You can't see that, I know, but and so let me just do this again with a brush, with the normal way. And so, because I want to get back here, so what to do anytime you want to redo an area, think about what the area is, and then take clean water and wet just a little bit beyond. Like if I'm doing this area, I have to wet all the way up to her because I can't leave an edge here. So I have to wet everything. And you can also use the mister, especially when it's dry like this. Let me show you. I'm just going to, maybe that's what I'll do, I'll mist it. There we go. See, I just put a little mist on there. And now it's all wet again. And so, I actually did that on her too, over here. Let's just mist that up a little bit. And see how it does nothing? And you can see a little bit happening there, but it doesn't hardly do anything. It just re-wets it, so I can go back in there. So what I want to do is I want to get a little bit darker in here. And don't use that much water. I mean, use more pigment. Wipe out the water on your towel, and then go in with a lot of pigment. Not so much water because you already sprayed the water on there. You don't need water. You need more pigment. And so I'm going to put it on there. And so I just want to get it darker. I'm getting a lot of bubbles for some reason. I know Tina right now is like, oh my God, what the hell is he doing? You're still cringing. I know you're cringing, really cringing now. But I need to get it darker. I need to get it especially darker right around her hands here. So I'm going through here. It's enough pigment. Like, it'll come out. It'll definitely come out. Don't worry about it. It's going to come out. I just have to make sure I use a lot of pigment. Lots of pigment. No water in your brush. Tap it down. Use the other side. Tap it down. Use the other side. And then just, it's all wet. It's all watery. It's going to soften itself. I don't have to worry about that. I just have to worry about that I have enough pigment in my brush and not any water. So I sprayed it with water, and I don't need water anymore. I need pure pigment. And now look at how she's popping out there. Gotta follow the value study. You know me. It's all about the values. You have to make the values right. And if the values are close to black, then use black. Get it dark. Get it dark. Just spray this area a little bit. Okay. Look at how it just pops right out there. Come through here, make this a little bit darker. Again, it pops her out there. And then it looks like the back of her dress is really nice, and it's starting to dry already though. I'm gonna have to go back there later. Hold on. Let me just get this part done here. Let's get the back of her legs here. So we're gonna make that, lose that edge. I'm gonna lose that edge there. All right, where's my big brush? Oh, it's in the water. What the heck is it doing in there? Don't ever leave your water in a brushes like that. Let's go down here, get this nice and dark. Boom, boom. Go around her feet. Get a lot of pigment. See, I'm just picking up, thick amounts of pigment here. I just want it dark. I'm gonna go through here by a lot of dark and a lot of pigment, then I can go in here, I can get the shape of the leg again, the feet, and I'll pop it out. I'll pop her out. Now this part should stay light, and so I'm going to go in there with some light colors. Keep it light, but I'm going to keep it floating because I don't want hard edges down there. So I'm going to keep it floating by putting some nice lighter colors in there. Bring it onto this side. Whatever's on this side, bring it over to that side. I'm going to go right into her legs again. Sorry, Tina. Here, she's going to go right into her legs. It doesn't matter because we don't want to see. We don't even want to see that. We want to see it nice and dark. I want to see this nice and dark. Just want to see the edge of her feet, legs. It will work because if you follow your value study, it will work. Because if it looks good in your value study, it will work on your painting. I never have to worry about that because that's what I did wrong the first time, is I didn't follow my value study. So always follow your value study. I'm always kind of glad when I do things like that so that it shows you the difference before when you do it and after when you do it right. I did it on purpose. Yeah, right. So this little... I'm going in here. So this is all wet now. This is all nice and wet, and so I can work it. You can work it as much as you want. So people say that you can never go back into an area of watercolor. Yes, you can. You can go in there as many times as you want, as long as you wet it and let your pigment float. And apply the pigment again the same way so it sits on top and floats. It'd be kind of fun to do a little spatter here too. Let's just go up with this. Maybe it can look like curtains. Or did I do that wrong? Let's get a little pink in here. Don't worry, I won't wreck it, I won't wreck it. I'm following the values. It will not wreck if I follow the values. Use a little white in here. Again, I'm going to do there's a nice dark right behind her dress here. That purple and a red. Make it switch up. And her face is too light. Look at my values on the face in the picture. So that is wet though. I can't go into her face, but I may have to do that after this is over. Let's get this a little bit darker here. So the big picture here I'm talking about is get your values. Work it nice and dark. Look at how I should have had this dark in the very first, and I wouldn't have to go back in. And so just always remember, get your darks dark and get them in right away. Don't try to build on them. No, get them right now and then. I'm just going to put this a little dark here. Swish, swish there. And then her face, and we're all done. Now her hand, once this dries, I can go back in there and get the little darks, a little bit darker. Like get it cleaned up a little bit. Still dark, so I can go in there a little bit and get that a little bit darker. So you can work in a wet area as long as you have the same wetness as the background is. You can work in those areas as long as it's the same wetness. Your brush is the same wetness as you have on the paper. Pick this a little bit darker through her here, just to get that look of like surrounding her, a little darker there. And then the last will be her face. I just see how light it is, the face, and if you look at the picture over here, it's in shadow. So this part is in shadow. So I'm gonna get a nice dark red, and just go in there and get this side of her face a little bit darker. It'll look okay. Don't worry, don't worry. It needs to be darker. It's all in the point of making sure that you get your values right. It's you know, a lot of times I don't follow myself. I know it's hard to do this and to sometimes follow that because you put it on there and you like what you did. You know, you put a nice simple wash on there and it looks really good. I mean, those washes did look good on there, but compared to the rest of the painting, it just doesn't match up. And so you have to match it up to what you said you're going to do in the very beginning with your values, and that's what your value study says. And same thing with right down in here. It'd be nice to have this red a little bit darker. You can still get the same colors, but you just have to make those colors darker. Otherwise, you don't get the lighting effect. It's just that way. There's no colors won't affect it as much as the value. If I put a really bright color there, then that would almost be wrong too, because if I put too bright a color, that makes it stand out, and we want to push it all together as one value. All right, and I think that's it. Oh, we were over. Oh, so there you go, guys. Somebody didn't mention it to me. Thank you so much for a wonderful year of learning. Oh, thank you, Charlie. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really, thanks a lot for standing with me all year. And so in the beginning, I just want to let you know that coming up in the new year, we're starting from the beginning again. We are starting from the scratch. We are going to be going from one color the first week, 2 colors the second week, third week. And we're going to start doing things very simple at first, and then we're going to build up on them. And we may even do a couple of little abstracts when we do those first things, just to get you on design, because we're going to do a couple things about design. Abstract is all about design, and it's a good way of teaching you how to do that. So stick with me for the new year, because we're going to start a bunch of things from the beginning. Right from the beginning. If you're a beginner, that's great. Even if you're advanced, that's fine, because it's always good to get those beginning things that we always learn in the beginning. Let me just take this off here really quickly. The tape, if I can find an edge, it's still very wet, but let me just show you the difference between how you're doing it when you do it with values. And I can't get the corners. Hold on. I gotta take my glove off. I can't get a corner. There we go. It's always good to see the image without the tape, like it's framed. It'll show you the values. The values are important. And what's more important than values? Please let me know. That's drawing, and that's what we're hopefully be doing in the new year. Sometime in the new year, we may do a whole 66-day class where you do every day. I'm going to have you do a little something for about 15 minutes. All right, so there you have it, guys. There's that one, and there's this one. We're a little bit over. But everybody have a super, super wonderful Christmas. And if I don't, I'll probably see you next week. And so we'll wish you a Happy New Year next year. And so until next week, keep those brushes going. And hopefully you got what you wanted from Santa if it comes to art supplies, all right? And so we'll see you then. See you next week. Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.